اللهم صل على
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ملتمس جناب عباس نقوی صاحب سے کہ وہ مرثیہ خوانی کے لیے تشریف لائیں. اللہم صل علی محمد وآل محمد. نعرہ صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
چار مصرے. زہرا صداقتوں کی بضاعت کا نام ہے زہرا صداقتوں کی بضاعت کا نام ہے. او زہرا طہارتوں کی علامت کا نام ہے زہرا طہارتوں کی علامت کا نام ہے. اور ذکر آ گیا لبوں پا تو دل کانپنے لگا. اور زہرا خدا کے دین کے عزت کا نام ہے زہرا صدا
طاقتوں کے
صلوات
اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرج. شاباش.
ایک آتا سماعت فرمائیں. ہر راز کبریا کا ہے، ہر راز فاطمہ، ہر راز کبریا کا ہے،
ہر راز
فاطمہ. او انداز ہے رسول کا، انداز فاطمہ. اور جب تک رہے گی دہر میں تسبیح کی صدا، او آتی رہے گی کانوں میں آواز فاطمہ، ہر راز کبریا کا ہے.
چار مصرے اور دینا. پارے قلب رسول دو جہاں ہے، زہرا رسول دو جہاں ہے، زہرا اور حق کی آواز صداقت کی زبان ہے، کی آواز صداقت کی زبان ہے، زہرا. اور دین حق کیا ہے اگر شبرو شبیر نہ ہو؟ ارے مختصر یہ ہے کہ اسلام کی ماں ہے زہرا، پارے قلب. نشار ڈاکٹر پیام اعظمی صاحب کا کلام ہے. لاش زہرا پا علی غم سے تڑپ جاتے ہیں. لاش زہرا پا علی غم سے تڑپ جاتے ہیں. ارے لاش زہرا پا علی غم سے تڑپ جاتے ہیں. ارے کبھی روتے ہیں کبھی بچوں کو سمجھاتے ہیں. لاش زہرا پا علی غم سے تڑپ جاتے ہیں. ارے دیکھ لیتے ہیں جو ٹوٹے ہوئے پہلو کی طرح. دیکھ لیتے ہیں جو ٹوٹے ہوئے پہلو کی طرح. ارے شیر حق شدت احساس سے تھراتے ہیں. لاش زہرا پا علی غم سے تڑپ جاتے ہیں. ارے ماں کے تابوت پر روتے ہیں حسن اور حسین. ماں کے تابوت پر روتے ہیں حسن اور حسین. یہی آنسو ہیں جو مظلوموں کے کام آتے ہیں. لاش زہرا پا علی غم سے تڑپ جاتے ہیں. اور شب کے سناٹے میں اٹھتا ہے جنازہ دیکھو. شب کے سناٹے میں اٹھتا ہے جنازہ دیکھو. ارے گھر سے میت لیے خود شیر خدا جاتے ہیں. لاش زہرا پا علی غم سے تڑپ جاتے ہیں. اور تعزیت دیتے ہیں مولا کو فرشتے آ کر. تعزیت دیتے ہیں مولا کو فرشتے آ کر. اشک غم آنکھوں سے اصحاب بھی برساتے ہیں. لاش زہرا پا علی غم سے تڑپ جاتے ہیں. ارے قبر زہرا پا کبھی قبر پیمبر پا کبھی قبر زہرا پا کبھی قبر پیمبر پاک بھی ارے اپنا دکھ درد علی جا کے سنا آتے ہیں لاش زہرا پا علی
غم سے
آخری شعر پہ
جاتے ہیں
ارے گھر میں سناٹا ہوا ہو گئی زہرا رخسار گھر میں سناٹا ہوا ہو گئی زہرا رخسار ارے آنسو مظلومہ کے ہر ایک کو یاد آتے ہیں لاش زہرا پا علی غم سے
تڑپ
اور مختہ پیش ہے سب
جاتے ہیں
ارے قبر زہرا کی اداسی نہیں ماتم ہے پیام قبر زہرا کی اداسی نہیں ماتم ہے پیام ارے دل مومن کو یہ سناٹ بھی تڑپاتے ہیں لاش زہرا پا علی سورہ فاتحہ بابا کو روتے روتے جو زہرا گزر
گئی
غل پڑ گیا کہ بنت نبی کوچ ارے فاقوں کے رنج سہ کے حضور پدر ارے محبوب کبریا کی عزادار مر محبوب کبریا کی عزادار مر ارے 18ویں برس نے یہ آفت دکھائی ہے ارے آل نبی کو چرخ نے لوٹا دہائی ہے آل نبی کو چرخ نے لوٹا دہائی ہے ارے سبتین گھر میں آئے جو بے تاب و بے اسما سے پوچھنے لگے ماں کہا وہ بولی نیند آ گئی ہے شکر کے کھانا تو جلد کھا لو کہ بھوکے ہو میں کھانا تو جلد کھا لو کہ بھوکے ہو میں ارے بولے کہ چین دے گا زمانہ تو
کھائیں گے
ارے اماں ہمیں کھلائیں گے کھانا تو
کھائیں گے
اماں ہمیں کھلائیں گے کھانا تو
کھائیں گے
یہ سن کے بے قرار ہوئی وہ جگر چادر زمیں پہ پھینک کے چلائی ارے بچے ہیں ان کو صبر دے اے میرے ارے اب وہ کھلانے والی کہاں تم پہ میں اب وہ کھلانے والی کہاں تم پہ میں ارے پیاروں تمہارے پالنے والی گزر
گئی
ارے کھاؤ گے کس کے ہاتھ سے اماں تم پھر تو علی کے گھر میں قیامت بپا
ہوئی
تازہ بلا میں آل نبی مبتلا
ہوئی
ماتم پہ ماتم اور عزا پر عزا غل تھا رسول پاک پہ زہرا فدا سب رو رہے تھے بنتے رسول قدیر کو ارے بچوں کو ہوش تھا نہ جناب شیر خدا تھے مضطر و مغموم ایک سر پیٹتے تھی زینب و کلثوم ایک پکڑے تھے دل کو سید مسموم ارے بسمل تھے خاک پر شاہ مظلوم اور حیدر قریب آئے تو ایک خط نظر
پڑا
تڑپے کچھ اس طرح کے امامہ اتر ارے حسب وصیت آپ نے غسل و کفن دیا ناگاہ بارگاہ میں یہ شور و غل رخصت کرو کہ جاتی ہیں احمد کی دل ارے سبتین نے لپٹ کے کہا واہ مصیبت ارے کس بات پر غریبوں سے منہ موڑ کر
چلے
ارے کیوں اماں جان کس پاہ میں چھوڑ کر ارے نانا کا ذکر رو کے پھر ایک بار کرتی جا ماتم رسول کا بدل زار کرتی جا پھر تازہ یاد سید ابرار
کرتی جاؤ
ارے چھاتی سے پھر لگا کے ہمیں پیار
کرتی جاؤ
چھاتی سے پھر لگا کے ہمیں پیار
کرتی جاؤ
او یہ سنتے ہی دکھا دیے رتبے رسول
کے
ارے نکلے کفن سے ہاتھ جناب بطول
کے
ارے بچوں سے یوں لپٹ گئی احمد کی دل ربا جیسے بہن سے لاش مظلوم کربلا ناگہاں ندا یہ آئی کہ اے شاہ لا حشر آئے گا چھڑاؤ انہیں بحر کے حشر آئے گا چھڑاؤ انہیں بحر کے ارے بچوں سے اپنے بنتے پیامبر جدا پر زینب اپنے بھائی سے کیوں کر جدا ارے میت کے ساتھ لونڈیاں بھی ننگے سر چلی ننھی سی دونوں بیٹیاں بھی نوحہ چلی کہتی ہوئی یہ زینب خستہ جگر چلی ہے اندھیری رات میں اماں کدھر چلی ہے اندھیری رات میں اماں کدھر چلی اور راتوں تڑپ تڑپ کے میں آنسو بہاؤں گی ارے اتنا تو کہتی جاؤ کہ جلد پھر آؤں گی بابا کو روتے روتے
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before I request the Honorable Maulana to be reciting the Majlis, there's an announcement that there'll be 5 Majalis in this regard, Ayyam-E-Fatimiyyah, starting from today till the 19th of December. Please make a note that the Majalis will be starting at 8 p.m. sharp. Today was an exceptional reason for that, and inshallah, from tomorrow on, Majlis will be starting at 8 p.m. inshallah. So please participate in time, and your participation is highly recommended to give the pursa to Imam-e-Waqt for this Khamsa Majalis. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Now I request the respected Speaker Maulana Hujjat al-Islam Sheikh Hamza Saudagar to please recite tonight's Majlis. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا سيد الخلق أجمعين حبيبنا حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين المنتجبين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. For the hastening and the return of our Imam, let's recite the salawat. For his health and well-being, let's recite the second one louder. Inshallah, each and every one of us becomes a true and close companion of that Imam. Let's recite the third one even louder. Give our condolences to the Imam of our time on the occasion of the Shahada of the Lady of the Two Worlds, the Master of all women, سيدة نساء العالمين فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله وصلواته عليه. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps us over the course of these few majalis to acquaint ourselves a little more with who she is, what she did, and the relevance of that to us today. The first thing that I'd like to discuss in this series is who is Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. And it's very difficult for a number of reasons. The main one being she is so high and I am so low. That is the most important and the truest reason for it. There are some other reasons. Some of the other reasons are that there's not much about her. There's less about her than some others. And there's less discussion about her until you find the people that somehow have been able to discuss, understand, and develop a relationship that's different with Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. And then what you hear from them, and I'm referring to scholars, I'm talking about spending 20 years in Qom and finding different teachers, going to different lecturers, hearing ulama talk about this, and everybody obviously is speaking highly of her, but what does that exactly mean? What does that mean especially in comparison when that is thought of? There's not much you find, or at least I found, until I started seeing a few people and hearing things that initially sound a little unconventional. You look into it further and you look at the evidence and you start finding things. So unfortunately, there's not enough conversation, not enough talk, not enough clarity. One of the first things about who Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha is, besides the generic and general praises that we all hear and we all repeat and we find emotions toward, like Sayyidatu Nisa al-Alamin, like the Prophet kissing her hand and saying, Fidaha Abuha. These are great things without analysis. They're just things to praise a person. There's not much that you gain from that. One of the first things I came across regarding this great lady is a series of hadith in Al-Kafi, and I came across these ahadith in the context of a discipline known as Rijal. This is a discipline that you cover and you talk about the different narrators of hadith, transmitters of hadith. You talk about what type of a character this individual is, what has been said about them. Can we trust their word? Can we not trust their word? These ahadith were introduced to me in the context of the person who gathered these ahadith and was known for these ahadith. And in Rijal, they consider him a ghali. They consider him an exaggerator. And therefore, he is dismissed. And so when I was introduced to these ahadith, I was introduced to them as being dismissed. But it's interesting that while in Rijal, scholars, ulama, teachers who are very respectable discuss that these ahadith are transmitted by a person and gathered by a person who is a ghali and therefore not to be trusted, these ahadith are coming to us in a book known as Al-Kafi. Al-Kafi is a book compiled in during the minor occultation in the early 4th century by a very renowned scholar. Everyone agrees that he is the master of this discipline of hadith. Najashi says, who's one of the authorities on Rijal, he says, Athbatun Nas. He's very precise in his measurements of hadith and how he accepts hadith, rejects hadith. This man, Al-Kafi, Al-Kulayni, rahmatullah alayh, he narrates these ahadith. So apparently his view, and he says at the beginning of the book, he's only compiled the ahadith that he is sure between him and Allah have been said by the ma'sumin. Between him and Allah, he has hujjah, he has proof, he's an expert. He says, I consider these ahadith to be reliable. This is an example that you have, while you have differences of opinion here. I was introduced to some of these ahadith in that way, initially being rejected, eventually come to a point where you realize, no, that is not rejected, that is not an exaggeration. What is an exaggeration? How do you determine what is an exaggeration? Do you set a bar somewhere about what can be said about the Ahlul Bayt, and then you say anyone who says anything above that is a ghali, is an exaggerator? Where did you set that bar? Where did you get that bar from? Is that something that was set by Allah, by the ma'sumin? Or is it by your understanding of who the ma'sumin should be that you set that bar? If anyone goes above that, then that is ghulub and that is exaggeration. The more investigation was done, the more we realized that this bar was not set by some clear measurement from the Ahlul Bayt, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from these ahadith that are clearly from the Ahlul Bayt, but rather the understanding of some of the ulama that has caused us some problems. We had ulama kicked out of Qum. This is not in the recent times. This is back at the time of Imam al-Jawad, at the time of Imam al-Rida. We have someone by the name of Barqi, Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Khalid al-Barqi, rahmatullah alayh. He was kicked out of Qum. Why? Because he narrated hadith that a certain individual in Qum, Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Isa al-Ash'ari, he did not consider those ahadith, the content of those ahadith, to be acceptable. And so he accused him of ghulu, and he was kicked out of Qum. This is a big problem. A big problem. An understanding of one scholar becomes a reason to judge the narrations. He says, look, I found these ahadith by people, these are the individuals. No, they can't be true. The contents can't be true, because somebody decided that is not something that could be said. The way we measure what type of things can be said about the ma'sumin and what type of things cannot be said by the ma'sumin is the Quran. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, and clear instructions from the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt themselves regarding that topic. having cleared up that the ahadith say, these ahadith that and I'll start talking about her from these ahadith. It is a series of hadith that consider Fatima Zahra to be the batn of, the unseen part of, and the tafsir in a sense of Surah Al-Qadr. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatul qadr. The Quran was revealed on Laylatul Qadr. Okay. There's two things about Laylatul Qadr that are clear in Surah Al-Qadr. One, the revelation of the Quran, the entirety of it. There's two processes or two times or two ways that the Quran has been revealed. There's a one-time revelation of the Quran upon the heart of the Prophet that's called inzal. When the word inna anzalnahu fi laylatul qadr is used, it's referring to that. The entirety of the Quran was revealed upon the heart of the Prophet fi laylatul qadr, in one night. That one laylatul qadr, on one night, the whole book was revealed upon the heart of the Prophet. Then وَنَزَّلْنَاهُ تَنزِيلًا. There's another revelation which you hear in the context of this, for example, in Hajjatul Wada regarding Ghadir, الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي. You've all heard that hadith. That's after the Prophet announced to the people that Ali ibn Abi Talib is Waliyullah, Man kuntu mawla fahada aliyun mawla. That was given to the people, that was transmitted to the people. The people were guided to that truth, that reality. Afterwards, these verses were revealed. That verse being revealed at the time by Jibreel, that's called Tanzil. The various verses are revealed at different times. So there's two processes of revelation. One is a one-time revelation called Inzal, and the other is Tanzil, which is a gradual process of a verse, a chapter, a series of verses being revealed upon the Holy Prophet. Laylatul Qadr is when the entirety of the Quran is revealed upon the Prophet. That's one thing that's clear from this chapter. The other thing clear about the chapter, or about Laylatul Qadr based on the chapter, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالْرُوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. Tanazzul of the malaika, the verb that is used is called mudari'. The meaning that it has is that it's not past tense, it's a recurring event. So there was a one-time thing that happened, which is the revelation of the Quran upon the heart of the Prophet. That's a one-time event that occurred during the lifetime of the Prophet. One of those Laylatul Qadr in the month of Ramadan. I'm not sure what year that might have been exactly. I haven't seen any discussion on that, but it was a one-time event that took place. But تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالْرُوحُ, this is a recurring event. Every Laylatul Qadr, the malaika descend. Okay. Descend. And descending is not some spiritual thing that one would think, what does that mean? They descend upon the imam of the time. They are lowering themselves, so the ma'soom is low. No, that's a physical descent. It's coming from above the atmosphere, lowering themselves physically, not spiritually, not the level of existence. It has nothing to do with that. The Quran says it's very clear. They are in the samawat, they come to earth. It's from the samawat, the heavens, the skies. From above the atmosphere, they descend. That's the descension, not the idea of spiritually descending. Anyhow, these are two things that happen on Laylatul Qadr. One is a one-time event, the other is a recurring annual thing that happens. The ahadith say that this night that this occurs, Laylatul Qadr, is Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. Okay. Laylatul Qadr is Fatima Zahra. People who can't process this, people who think that we are so intelligent that if we can't process it, it means it's wrong, have decided to reject hadith like that. And have tried to consider this some form of ghulu, some exaggeration, because they didn't hear it from the ma'soom, because they weren't qualified to receive that guidance from the ma'soom. The imam didn't tell them, they didn't have the capacity to hear it. When they heard someone else say the Ma'soom said this, they rejected it. Okay. This is said by people who went to the Imams. There's nothing against the guy who narrated these ahadith, that he's a liar, he's known by anyone to be a liar. They just judge the content of the ahadith he's gathered, say that can't be true, therefore he's a ghali. That's not the way you judge. If you don't have any dirt on the guy, there's nothing against him, he's never been known as a liar, he's narrating from people that we know that those ahadith are reliable. And that's the judgment of Kulayni as well. These ahadith are reliable. So get past this being said by the Ma'soom. It is said by the Ma'soom. You try to interpret. There's nothing in the Quran that goes against this. In fact, you can find evidence in the Quran if you look close enough. If we look close enough, which we don't, we're not familiar with the Quran. We don't understand the Quran. If you look carefully, you'll find evidence. You'll find evidence. But clearly, you can't produce any type of evidence from the Quran that suggests that this is a lie or an exaggeration. It's not true. Fatima Zahra is Laylatul Qadr. What does that mean? Does that mean that night, which basically means the absence of the sun? That's what a nighttime is, right? You understand what nighttime and daytime is. We know enough about this that nighttime is just the absence of the sun. The earth spinning around its own axis, part of the 24 hours you get sunlight, and that's called daytime. And when we're not facing the sun, like right now, that's nighttime. Is that what she is? The absence of the sun? Is it the black sky? Is that what it is? I heard somebody say that it's the Qadr. What does Qadr mean? Layla is night. Okay, that's the physical understanding of what night is. Qadr, it's not a very complicated concept. Qadr is destiny. Qadr is the measurement of one's destiny, everyone's destiny. The taqdeer, that's the other word that's used. Every Laylatul Qadr, whatever you're going to have in the following year, whatever's going to happen to you, each and every soul on earth, whatever's going to happen regarding people on earth, even if it's in the heavens, all of that has to do with coming to the Imam and being delivered, that message being delivered to the Imam. The Imam as Waliullah is a recipient of that. All the taqdeerat, the destiny of each person, how much sustenance, what type of things are included. Are you going to get a new car, a new phone, a new house? Are you going to go for Hajj? You're going to go for Ziyarah? You're going to go for Arba'in? You're going to go for Medina? You're not going to go? All of that is revealed on Laylatul Qadr to the Imam of the time. Each Hujjah at each time. Okay. That's what Qadr means. Is Fatima Zahra that? Well, clearly she's not. Is Layla, the night part, the absence of the sun? Like we're not seeing the sun? Is that what she is? No. Laylatul Qadr, in terms of it being nighttime, it's just like any other night. It's just like any other night. What makes that particular night capable of this great event happening is Fatima Zahra. The key to Laylatul Qadr, the distinction between that night in all these nights of the year that makes it capable of the Quran being revealed upon the Prophet, and every year the taqdeer being brought down by angels to the Imam of the time, is Fatima Zahra. She is what allows, she is the connection that allows for the angels to connect with the Ma'soom. She is the context of revelation. Her existence has to do with that. It's not a physical thing. Her body is there. She is that. She is connected to that. Somehow, she is what makes the difference. She is the reason that the Prophet received the Quran, the nur of Fatima that is not on earth yet when he received that revelation. when he received the Quran. The Nur of Fatima has made the Quran receivable by the Prophet. And the Quran that you and I today are supposed to read and we have access to and we are guided by is given to us in the context of Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. The recipient of it is the Prophet. But the one who made that reception possible, the creation of God that made that possible, we're talking creation, because the one who did all of it from the beginning, هو الأول والآخر والظاهر والباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم. Don't get mixed up with the discussion of Tawheed and say, well, God made it possible. God makes everything happen. Everything. There is nothing but He. كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. Everything else is an illusion. It's not a God delusion. It's the delusion of everything else. Okay. God isn't a delusion. Everything else is a delusion. That's the reality of, as the Quran says, and if anybody really pays attention, they'll see it. This is not anything outside of Tawheed. This is how Tawheed manifests. This is how God has made it happen. The means through which God made it possible for the Prophet to receive that revelation is Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. That's what this hadith says. That's what these ahadith say. You give me one verse in the Quran that says that's a lie. Give me one verse in the Quran that says that can't be true. People who are trustworthy, people who spent time with the Ahlul Bayt say, we heard the Ahlul Bayt say this. Give me one verse of the Quran that says this cannot be true. There isn't. There isn't. Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha is a secret. She lived, imagine her growing up. She's a girl. Just imagine you see a girl, a 7-8-year-old girl, before she gets married. She gets married at age 9, and she's martyred at age 18. Okay. That's as long as she lived. How is an 18-year-old someone, before her existence, she is the context of the revelation of the Quran, before her material existence, before she was a soul attached to a body in this world. She's the context of the revelation of the Quran upon her father, the Prophet. Okay. And after her departure from this world, every year, the context of the revelation of all these, or the descension of all these angels, descending upon every ma'asum, every imam, her husband, Amirul Mu'mineen, then her son, Imam al-Hasan, then her son, Imam al-Hussein, then her grandsons, one after the other, all the way until the imam of our time. You think we can figure this out? We can understand who this person is? There's an account that has been said, and scholars who've done the research, I rely on certain things, I still do taqleed on. And some of them are not matters of fiqh. This is one of those matters. One of the teachers that I found to be elevated, to be someone that has passed the level where you need basic books to understand things, but has actually seen things. Based on his authority, I'll explain. I won't say what exactly he said. I think it's too much for people to process. They would misunderstand it. Some of these things are not said about Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha, because to the public, as you can see, I think if you pay attention to the examples I mentioned, the ahadith, certain individuals were given that information, certain others were not given that information. The same imam is sitting in Medina or in Samarra or in Baghdad or wherever the imam, the blessed imam is. Different people are going to the imam. Some are getting that word from him, some are not getting that word from him. Not everybody's prepared to hear it. Some people will misunderstand it, misconstrue it, and go astray. Certain others will reject it, as we demonstrated. I won't tell you what he said. That's too much. It'll either be misconstrued and cause deviation, or misunderstood and therefore rejected. But based on that, something you probably have heard, that we are God's hujjah upon you. Our mother, Fatima Zahra, is God's hujjah on us. Okay. We can celebrate the statement all we want as something nice to hear and just feel great about being Shia and loving Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha. But if this doesn't lead to a different relationship with Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha, seeing her differently, building a deeper relationship with her, then it's not put into effect. Okay? It is not put into effect. It is not put into action. It is not implemented. And it is not understood. God's hujjah on us, the Imams, their reference point, when they are the hujjah of God for us, they are our reference point to guide us to Allah. When they say that she is our hujjah, or God's hujjah for us, that means she is their reference point. She is their reference point. This is not some, I don't know, emotional speech or statement. Some empty praise just to say somebody's good. We do that, unfortunately. I wish our poetry would be based on facts that we have understood. Some of the poetry that I have seen, I don't know if the poet understood or not, but the words they ended up, maybe through the blessing of the Ahlul Bayt, the words they came up with have that deep meaning in them. You can see, you can find, you can relate to very deep concepts. Some of it is pretty shallow. It's just somebody felt like they needed to come up with words, and it's not based on any type of understanding from any source, any reference point. These are not like some poetry somebody came up with. These are the words of the Ma'sumeen, giving us a little bit. Because any more than that little bit is too much for us to process. We can't get this. We don't understand this. Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha, is really above a level that someone like any of us, myself or any of, it's hard for the Ma'sumeen to describe her, I would say. It's difficult for them to describe who she is. That is something to understand, not something just to say and throw around and be proud of knowing this person. Why is it important to know some of these things about this great woman? Why is it important to know this? She is who she is, whether I know it or I don't. Whether we know it or we don't, she is who she is. What difference does it make if we know or we don't, if I know or I don't? The difference is for me, not for her. There's no difference for her. The difference is for us. Where we are headed, what we are doing, what we are going to move toward, what our direction is going to be, how far we are going to ascend, what is our relationship with Allah, what is our taqarrub ila Allah, how close can we get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That has a lot to do with knowing who she is. and being connected. I'll give you another thing. I heard from a number of sources. You've heard the name, one of the familiar names to you all, or at least some of you, is Ayatollah Hassan Zada Amuli. Okay. And he's known, those who know him, they know he's known for irfan, not just the discipline, a study, a series of books to read. No, he was someone that was known to have purified himself to a degree unknown to us. He was above average in that regard. He was known for that, and known by people whose judgments matter, okay, not by some unknown character saying things about the person. No, he's someone that is known for that. We heard that he started saying, and I'm not encouraging this, by the way. I don't encourage anyone doing this. If somebody does it, that's their thing. I'm not saying this to encourage you. I don't do this. But we heard that he started saying in his adhan and iqama, Ashhadu anna Fatima Zahra as-Siddiqa al-Kubra, and certain other words that I don't remember right now. He started mentioning that in his adhan and iqama. In other words, he knows it's not. He's a faqih, he's a jurist. He wasn't just someone who knew the discipline of irfan. He was a jurist. He's someone who studied fiqh first. He knows that's not part of the adhan or iqama. That's not what he's doing, and he's not adding anything. That's not what he's doing either. What he's doing is, while he's doing his adhan and iqama, he's reminding himself of a fact, of a truth that he considers that important, that he needs to remind himself right before prayer. That's what he's doing. Okay. That is what he's doing. He's not introducing anything into adhan or iqama. And I'm not introducing that. I'm not telling you to do it. If you want to do it, you're not... The fiqh part of it, adhan does not even include Ashhadu anna Aliyan Waliullah. Clearly, all Shia jurists know this. There's not a single Shia jurist that thinks otherwise, from the beginning to the end. Right? But it's clear in fiqh that between the lines of the adhan and iqama, you are allowed to speak and say other things. If those things happen to be things that are Islamically valuable, like salawat, like Ashhadu anna Aliyan Waliullah, like Ashhadu anna Fatima Zahra as-Siddiqa al-Kubra, these are okay to say. It's not part of the adhan or iqama, it's just okay to say it in between the lines. That's what's happening there. You hear these things. Why does an arif decide to say something like that and do it in a way where others hear it? I don't know, but I think knowing who this person is to a certain degree, that he's trying to get something out. He's trying to familiarize the masses with an idea that is not as familiar to them as it should be. Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha is someone to remember differently. Fatima Zahra is important for us to know. Knowing her spiritual status with Allah, something that her father benefited from, her husband benefited from, her children benefited from, is something you and I need to tap into. And it can't be tapped into if it's not known. It's something you need to discover for yourself. One of the ways that this can happen is Fatimiyyah. What do I mean by that? Fatimiyyah is a time where we remember the shahada of the lady Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. All that spiritual talk, things that are beyond what can be seen, above what can be fathomed really for at least an ordinary person, unless they're told, and then they can start the process of figuring out how true that is, or what it means in that sense. There's certain aspects that are visible, that are seen. One of those that is known to us more is the process of her shahada, her martyrdom, her injuries that led to her gradual death over the course of a month or two. This time, remembering those events, besides the intellectual aspect of it that we should enhance in our Fatimiyyah programs and talk about these concepts, discuss these matters, that would lead to a deeper conceptual understanding of who she is. There's an emotional aspect to it. There is an emotional connection. There is a love that develops. There are feelings that develop. And the tears that flow down your face and the beating of one's chest in her memory create and enhance a relationship, be it that the depth of that, the understanding may not be very deep, but the feeling gets stronger, the attachment gets stronger. And that attachment and connection is one of the keys to getting to know her. Getting drawn to her with these emotions is important. Getting drawn to Fatima Zahra with these emotions is very important. The masa'ib of Bibi Fatima, remembering them, crying for her, beating oneself, which is something that a lot of people do out of control. You hear what was done to her in the streets of Medina while everyone is watching and nobody got in the way. And you can't take it. Emotional connection, brothers, sisters, develop that in yourselves. We have some ahadith in the context of Muharram and Imam al-Hussein. The same thing applies here. It says if you can't cry, force yourself to cry. Tabaki. Okay. It's not make yourself look to others as though you're crying. Force yourself to cry. Force those emotions. It's like jumping your car. The car is not starting up. You need a jump start. Force yourself to cry. And then allow those emotions gradually to start developing naturally, more organically. But sometimes you need that jump start. It's necessary. It's necessary. That connection is what has caused people to be taken in by Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. And of course some other elements. One of the key factors in understanding who Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha is for us, something that we take her, the 12th Imam has in his sayings that Fatima Zahra is a role model for him. One of the areas that we can all learn from, and the more you look into her, the more you realize this. And in fact, that is fundamentally what makes her who she is. The level of this concept is ubudiyyah, being an abd of Allah, serving no one but Allah, obeying no one but Allah. On all levels, on all levels. Some of those who obeyed Allah in difficult conditions, in remembered Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha, she took care of them. There was an account I read recently, this last week I think. It was one of the captives of war. During the 8-year war, many people were captured by the Ba'athist regime of Saddam at the time, and they were taken to prisons. These were prisoners of war, but some of them were tortured. Some of them were tortured to death. There was a young man, I'm not sure what his age exactly was, but it seemed like he was in his late teens, early 20s. It didn't seem like he was any older than that. Somehow he had information, they heard he has information that they need to tap into. He was taken into torture chambers. Some others were there with him, with this brother who was being tortured. They saw it. They described the scene. I don't want to get to too much of the brutality, but they beat him a whole lot. And they kept beating him, walking him on glass, and he's bleeding and all of that. And the cry that can be heard from him is, Ya Fatima, Ya Fatima. And these Ba'thists got angry at him because he wouldn't say what they want him to say. But what they can hear him say is what they don't like to hear, Ya Fatima, Ya Fatima. They got so angry they stuffed some soap in his throat until he was weak. The faint cries before they did that, very faintly, Ya Fatima, Ya Fatima. What is he seeing at this time? What is Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha giving him at this time? The eyes of a person who's using these eyes cannot see the experience that this brother is going through. All you can see is the bleeding, the pain that you can't, it's excruciating, must be. But you don't realize, they say in Karbala, Fatima Zahra came for Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. That's another man that stood, no matter how difficult things are. They say when he fell off the hearse, I've heard this, I don't know. I don't know what the reference for it is. But whether it's in this form or another form, Fatima Zahra, I believe, was there for him. All we can see is their physical state. We can cry for that. You don't realize that if the veils are removed, the condition that Abbas is something that he takes joy and pride in. He's enjoying every bit of that. He's waiting for that to be with Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha in that way. That spiritual connection, that attachment that can develop in the context of Fatimiyyah with the remembrance of the Masa'ib, crying for Fatima Zahra, crying for Amir al-Mu'mineen, asking Amir al-Mu'mineen to get us closer to Fatima Zahra, asking Fatima Zahra to get us closer to Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullah alayhima. We hope that in the course of these sessions we can tap into that as well a little bit. Ya Allah. I don't know. We ask Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha to guide the thoughts, the words. There are times that it says, we've heard this many times, the Ahlul Bayt did tawassul to Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. The Ahlul Bayt did tawassul to Fatima Zahra. Difficult times for the Ahlul Bayt who were the strongest. Ya Fatima, I don't know what happened in the house. Amir al-Mu'mineen was there. According to accounts, this happened more than once, that they approached the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen, forcing their way in to take allegiance from Amir al-Mu'mineen. The last occasion is when they burnt the door. The first occasion when they came, they lashed their way in, and Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha again was there protecting Amir al-Mu'mineen. They had to lash her and get her out of the way before they got to Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. What is this strength, Ya Fatima? Standing alone. It's the most difficult thing. It breaks tough, strong, brave men break under the pressure of being alone, left alone. Nobody's there. Everyone's against you. The only person that could stand and the only thing that could break her was the physical door was Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. Ya Allah, how did Amirul Mu'mineen, how was he able, Ya Amirul Mu'mineen? This is your center, it has your name on it. I don't know how you were able to take that order from Allah. It's clear to me that Amirul Mu'mineen had orders from God not to intervene. That's a difficult order to obey. When the daughter of the Prophet, when Fatima Zahra, this great lady, Sayyidatu Nisa al-Alameen, that Ali knew who she was, is being attacked in that way for him, to get to him. And his instructions are, don't intervene. Ya Ali, how did you manage to comply with that? The Prophet told him. The Prophet told him, they will break your Fatima. And he cried and he wept there with the Prophet. The Prophet told him, be patient. How could Ali be patient? Only Allah assisted, and Fatima Zahra assisted. Fatima Zahra assisted him to be patient. Otherwise, how is it possible for Ali ibn Abi Talib to be patient? صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي. We've gathered here in memory of Fatima, your beloved, Ya Ali. You were the one who was there after her. We give our condolences first to you, Ya Ali. I don't know what strength God gave you, why you were able to take down the door of Khaybar, that Allah gave you the power to take that door down. Now you have to watch the door of your home being knocked down on your Fatima, and just watch. Ya Ali. They say when they took you from the house toward the masjid, قنفذ لعنة الله عليه, use the sheath of his weapon, and perhaps the weapon itself, to hit on your hand, which you were using to hold Ali back so they don't take him. Ya Ali, it must have been difficult to allow that to happen without intervening, Ya Ali. The loneliness of Ali after Fatima is unimaginable. He knew who she was. He had her with him. Now that he has no one, he doesn't have the Prophet anymore. Now he loses Fatima to Zahra. Ya Ali. What was happening those nights that we hear? You went out of town. They say he spoke in a well to try to get things off his chest because he didn't have Fatima anymore to speak to. Ya Ali. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها بك يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك وعلى محبة أوليائك. O Allah, hasten the return of our Imam. O Allah, help us be his true and close companions. We ask Allah to help all those who are helping his cause, especially our ulama, our maraja, above all, our leader. We ask Allah to forgive us all of our sins, forgive our parents, our grandparents, our relatives, all believers, those who are alive, those who have left this world. We ask Allah to grant all of us and all believers worldwide our hajat, our needs, our requests. Relieve all those who are suffering from hardships, difficulties, illnesses, especially the people of Gaza that are experiencing the atrocities and the genocide that we're seeing. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to relieve all the oppressed people of the world of the oppressions they're facing. Ya Hussein.
تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے ہائے بابا تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی کیسے دروازہ ہٹاؤں کیسے محسن کو بچاؤں سانس سینے میں رکی ہے تیری زہرا ہائے بابا تیری زہرا ہاتھ میں جس کے میرا ہاتھ دیا تھا تم نے کہہ کے من کن تو جسے مولا کہا تھا تم نے میں نے ہر موڑ پہ بابا ساتھ اس کا ہے نبھایا کیا میرا جرم یہی ہے تیری زہرا ہائے بابا تیری امت نے بنا دی ہے یہ حالت بابا کوئی پسلی بھی نہیں میری سلامت بابا سانس لیتی ہوں میں جس دم رکنے لگتا ہے میرا دم صرف مرنے کی کمی ہے تیری ہائے بابا کبھی دربار میں پیشی کو بلاتے ہیں ہمیں کبھی دروازے پہ آ کے ستاتے ہیں ہمیں میرے یہ پھول اس بچے پوچھتے ہیں یہی مجھ سے کیا خطا ہم سے ہوئی ہے تیری زہرا
مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے
بابا تیری شرم آتی ہے بھلا تم کو بتاؤں کیسے، یہ تماچوں کے نشاں تم کو دکھاؤں کیسے، تم نہ پہچان سکو گے دیکھ کر مجھے کو کہو گے کیا میری زہرا یہی ہے، تیری زہرا ہائے بابا یہ اذیت یہ خاموشی نہیں دیکھی جاتی، مجھ سے تنہائی علی کی نہیں دیکھی جاتی، تیرا پیغام سنانے حق ولایت کا بتانے زہرا گھر گھر میں گئی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، یا حسین
پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، 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 کیا حال یہ امت نے زہرا کا بنایا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، خاتون کوئی غم سے یوں چور نہیں دیکھی، ایسی کوئی دنیا میں مستور نہیں دیکھی، 18 برس میں ہی لگتی جو ضعیفہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، دربار میں ظالم نے کی ایسی پذیرائی، کس طرح سے تو بی بی پھر لوٹ کے گھر آئی، بالوں کی سفیدی نے سب حال سنایا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، تو روتی رہی گھر میں حیدر سے بھی چھپ چھپ کے، عصمت کی طرح دکھ بھی پردے میں رہے تیرے، کچھ درد تیرے بی بی بس جانتی فضا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، سب مل کے पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है। दो ऐसे जनाजे हैं तारीकी में जो उठे, बस घर के ही लोगों ने दोनों को दिए कांधे। एक फातिमा ज़हरा है, एक बाली सकीना है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है। तस्वीर हकीकत की ख्वाबों को बना दीजिए, ऐ बीबी तकल्लुम को ताबीर दिखा दीजिए। मातम तेरी तुर्बत पे होते हुए देखा है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है, पहलू भी शिकस्ता है, तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है। या हुसैन
صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا خير خلق الله ويا خاتم النبيين وصفوة المرسلين، صلى الله عليك يا أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب وصي رسول الله، صلى الله عليك يا فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، صلى الله عليك يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى، صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلى الله عليك يا غريب الغرباء ويا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلطان أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا المرتضى، صلى الله عليك وعلى آبائك وأبنائك جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلى الله عليك يا مولاي يا بقية الله يا حجة الله، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك، وجعلنا من خير أعوانك وأنصارك والمستشهدين بين يديك. صلى الله عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك
وجبت الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى أباه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، ولي وحافظ وقائد وناصر ودليل، وأين أتى تسكنه وأرزقته وتمتعوا فيها تغيرا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. نعرة حيدري.